Friends, whenever we talk about those Hollywood films that completely transformed the face of superhero and dark fantasy cinema, one of the biggest names that comes forward is Blade. And believe me, if Blade had not been released in 1998, perhaps the golden world of Marvel and DC that we see today on the big screen would never have arrived so quickly and with such grandeur. Blade was not just a film. It was a bold risk of its era that gave Hollywood the confidence to believe that movies based on comic book characters could also attract audiences worldwide. The character of Blade first appeared in 1973 in the world of Marvel Comics, and the journey from there to 1998 was not an easy one. But when Wesley Snipes brought this character to life on the big screen, audiences realized how unique and powerful the story of a dark hero standing between humans and vampires could actually be. Blade was released in 1998 and instantly grabbed the attention of audiences everywhere. It was the story of a man who was half human and half vampire, known as the Daywalker because he possessed the powers of a vampire, yet still carried the soul and heart of a human. Blade had only one mission: to save the world from the vicious vampires who wanted to expand their empire by feeding on the blood running through human veins. The film featured Stephen Dorff as the vampire Deacon Frost, and the clash between Blade and Frost was so intense that audiences remained glued to their seats until the very end. The success of Blade gave Marvel a new direction, and perhaps this was the moment that paved the way for later films like X-Men, Spider-Man, and ultimately the MCU itself. After the success of the 1998 Blade, expectations grew even higher. And then came the year 2002, when visionary director Guillermo del Toro helmed Blade 2. This film didn't just take action and horror to new heights, it also gave Blade's character much deeper layers. The story evolved as Blade faced a new threat: the Reapers. These were not ordinary vampires, but far more dangerous creatures whose hunger could never be satisfied, and who threatened both humans and vampires alike. For the first time, Blade was forced to ally with his enemies, the vampires themselves, in order to fight this terrifying new species. This twist made the story even more captivating, because now Blade's challenge wasn't just physical, but also psychological. Could he really trust his sworn enemies? That lingering question kept audiences hooked throughout. Blade 2 is still considered a masterpiece of superhero horror cinema. Then came 2004 with Blade: Trinity. In this film, Blade faced none other than Dracula himself, referred to in the movie as Drake. This battle represented the oldest and most powerful chapter of the war between humans and vampires, because Dracula was considered the father of all vampires. Alongside Wesley Snipes, the movie also introduced new characters like Jessica Biel as Abigail Whistler and Ryan Reynolds as Hannibal King. However, Blade: Trinity did not receive the same acclaim as its predecessors. Critics targeted it for its weaker storyline and over-the-top action. Yet one thing became absolutely clear: the character of Blade was one that audiences never wanted to let go of. After this trilogy, in 2006, Blade, the series, was launched, attempting to carry the story forward on television. Unfortunately, the show failed to capture the same dark intensity and cinematic flavor of the films, and was canceled after just one season. But friends, the journey of Blade did not end there. Time changed. The superhero film era began. Marvel created its grand cinematic universe, and characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Guardians of the Galaxy conquered the world. Fans everywhere kept asking the same question: when would Marvel finally bring back this iconic and original character, Blade, into the MCU? That answer came in 2019, when Marvel Studios made the announcement at San Diego Comic-Con that sent fans into a frenzy. Blade was returning to the MCU, and this time, the character would be played by two-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali. The moment this news was revealed, excitement exploded worldwide. Ali had already won global acclaim for his performances in Moonlight and Green Book, and fans knew immediately that the role was in powerful hands. Now the big question is, what will Blade Part 4, the MCU version of Blade, truly look like? Will it carry the same dark and violent tone of the original trilogy? Or will Marvel reshape it to fit more neatly into their cinematic universe? And most importantly, will this film succeed in reviving the essence of Blade as powerfully in today's era as Wesley Snipes did back in the late 90s. Friends, after understanding the journey of the old Blade trilogy and the TV series, it is now time to talk about the film that every Marvel fan has been waiting for over the past several years. And that is the MCU's new Blade, Blade Part 4. As I told you earlier, Marvel Studios officially announced this film at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, and the moment the announcement was made, it created a wave of excitement across Hollywood and the fan community. The fact that a highly talented actor like Mahershala Ali was chosen for this iconic role itself proved how serious Marvel was about this project. Now, if we talk about Blade 4's release date, friends, this film has faced multiple delays. Initially, it was planned for a 2023 release, but due to script rewrites, changes in directors, and adjustments to Marvel's overall schedule, the film kept getting postponed. Finally, Marvel locked in November 7th, 2025, as the release date. This means that in late 2025, Marvel's Dark Hero will step into the MCU for the very first time. Just imagine, in a world already filled with characters like the Avengers, the Guardians, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, the arrival of a dark and serious character like Blade will completely shift the tone. Now let's talk about Blade 4's budget. Marvel Studios has always been known for spending generously on its big projects, and a dark character like Blade, involving vampires, blood, and horror elements, requires massive production value. Reports suggest that the production budget of Blade 4 is set somewhere between $120 million and $150 million, putting it on par with any other large-scale MCU project. Marvel's intent is crystal clear. They don't see Blade as a side project, but as an important part of the MCU's main storyline. Moving on to the star cast. The biggest name, of course, is Mahershala Ali, who will be playing Blade. His personality, his acting style, and his dark screen presence fit the role perfectly. Apart from him, Delroy Lindo is confirmed to play an important character, though his exact role hasn't been revealed yet. Aaron Pierre has also joined the cast, reportedly in a significant role. And since MCU is known for interconnecting characters, there is also a possibility that Doctor Strange, or perhaps a member of the Midnight Suns, could make a cameo in this film. Now, friends, if we talk about the story, the official plot of Blade Part 4 has not yet been revealed. But based on reports and speculations, it is expected that the tone of this film will be very different from the rest of the MCU. This time, the focus will be more on horror and dark fantasy. Blade will be portrayed closer to his comic book roots, a dark hero who lives among humans by day, but at night fights vampires and other supernatural forces. It is also expected that we will get to see full-fledged vampire world building, and there's even a possibility that a villain as legendary as Dracula could be introduced. MCU doesn't see this as just a standalone project. Blade's entry is actually part of a larger plan, the foundation for the Midnight Suns team. In the comics, Midnight Suns is a team that includes Blade, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and other dark characters who fight together. This means the MCU is slowly moving towards darker and more mature tones in its films. Now, friends, let's discuss the box office potential, because ultimately, this is what decides a film's success. Blade Part 4's release in the US market will be a major event. The Marvel brand itself is a box office guarantee, but Blade's darker tone makes this project unique. Experts believe that the film could easily earn between $90 million and $110 million on its opening weekend alone. As for its lifetime collection in the US, it is expected to land somewhere between $250 million and $350 million. On a worldwide scale, the film could surpass $600 million without much difficulty. Blade Part 4's greatest strength will be that it introduces the MCU to an entirely new genre. Until now, Marvel films have largely been centered around superheroes, sci-fi, and action comedy. But with Blade, the MCU will officially step into horror and the supernatural realm. And friends, this genre has its own dedicated fan following in Hollywood.
That's why Marvel is confident that Blade will win over both fans and critics. If we compare this film to the old Blade trilogy, Wesley Snipes' charisma back then kept audiences hooked. But with the MCU version of Blade, Mahershala Ali
Not only brings his unique presence, but the film will also benefit from Marvel's massive vision, huge budget, and interconnected universe. This is why fans believe that this movie will honor Blade's past legacy, while also powerfully adapting him for a new era.